show. I'm your ghost host with the most, and today we're talking about something topical and relevant. Imagine a place where the government allegedly kidnapped kids, blasted their brains with weird machines, and tried to rip open time. And then just said, yeah, nah, base is closed, don't worry about it. This place has a name, MONTAUK. And if it sounds like the plot of Stranger Things, that's because the show literally started as a project called MONTAUK. Tonight, we're diving into the alleged MONTAUK project. Mind control, time travel, psychic kids, and a base that people swear is still active underground. This is a conspiracy theory the government calls a story, and believers call a cover-up. Alright, so let's talk about Montauk. Montauk is a real town, and it's at the very tip of Long Island, New York. Nice beaches, lighthouses, seafood, the whole postcard vibe. Then you've got Camp Hero. This old military base is sitting out like a final boss arena. Bunkers, concrete, and a giant, creepy radar dish that looks like it's waiting to talk to something it shouldn't. Officially, Camp Hero was a coastal defense base during World War II. Then later a radar station during the Cold War. Then they said, we shut it down in the 1980s. Nothing to see here. But that's where the weird stuff starts. Because people locally claimed it never really shut down. They saw lights, vehicles coming and going in the night, and heard humming noises from underground. Because nothing says abandoned like a place that's still making machine sounds and noises at 3 a.m. If you've seen pictures of Camp Hero, the whole place has this liminal vibe to it. Empty towers, fenced off bunkers, locked down doors that says no entry, which in conspiracy terms means please break in and start rumors. There are stories of people walking through the park, getting too close to certain areas, and suddenly being confronted by security out of nowhere, like NPCs that spawn when you reach a boundary. The big star of the show is that massive radar tower. It's just sitting there, silent, allegedly. People claim they've seen it moving when it's supposedly powered off, or heard a low-frequency hum that makes people feel very nauseous and anxious, or like they're just being watched. So already, the base looks like the kind of place where a government experiment montage would happen. Most of what we know about the Montauk project comes from a guy named Preston Nichols, and a couple of others who say they worked there, allegedly. Nichols claimed the government was using this base for psychological warfare, because that was a thing, if you didn't know, back in the 60s. An electromagnetic kind, which is an electromagnetic kind of mind control. Which sounds like an excuse you'd give your boss whenever you're late. Sorry, I was caught in a time vortex. Alright, I'm sorry. According to these claims, they weren't just doing basic experiments. No, because it's the US government in the 1960s. They were allegedly kidnapping or recruiting kids with strong psychic potential, hooking them up to machines that could amplify their thoughts, trying to weaponize telepathy, telekinesis, and remote viewing. If you know anything about movies, then Men Who Stare at Goats. Guaranteed. It's a funny movie. And eventually, pushing so far, they started messing with space and time itself. Woo! So basically, take every creepy sci-fi experiment, every experiment you've ever seen in a movie, and put it into one underground base, and then tell everyone it never happened. It's essentially what they did. So you probably already read about this on the internet, but here's where the Stranger Things parallels really kicks in. The story goes that kids, mostly boys, were taken to the base for some tests. Some were supposedly runaways, or kids that wouldn't be missed, sadly. Others allegedly came from foster systems or military families. They were shoved into rooms, strapped into chairs, and made to go through psychic training, from telepathy exercises to astral projection sessions. Nichols claims that they had this MONTAUK chair, a device that could read and amplify thoughts. Which, there's a lot of things that the government did in the 60s that was very turn a blind eye and abusive. The idea was that if a psychic kid sat in the chair and imagined something clearly enough, machines could pick it up and then turn it into a real physical effect. Almost like turning imagination into a weapon, which would be bizarre, but I would come up with so many cool ideas. Anyways, think remote spying, causing people to hallucinate, or even manifesting objects. Basically, what if your intrusive thoughts were sponsored by the Pentagon? They also supposedly used classic mind control tricks, sensory deprivation, drugs, trauma, repetition, hypnosis, all the greatest hits from the MK Ultra, but turned up to 11. No pun intended. Some kids were said to have come out of it broken, no memories, personality changes, or missing time in their lives they couldn't explain later. Now we go from creepy to absolutely insane. According to Nichols and other supposed insiders, the project escalated into a full-blown time travel experiment, aka Project Blue Book. I don't know, but they claimed by syncing psychic energy with electromagnetic fields, they could open portals, literally tunnels into time and space, via Stargate. These tunnels allegedly connected to different points in history, other locations, and possibly even other dimensions. They said they sent people through, soldiers, test subjects, to scout, different areas and document. Some reportedly came back older. Some came back insane. Some didn't come back at all. One of the wildest parts of the legend is something called the MONTAUK monster, in a totally different sense. Nichols claimed that in one final experiment, a particularly powerful psychic object, often called the boy, was told to imagine something terrifying that could destroy the project. Supposedly, the thought manifested into a monstrous entity that rampaged through the base, destroying equipment and forcing the scientists to shut everything down. Yes, that's literally the plot of a season finale. Psychic kid, government lab, a monster unleashed of the mind that they can't control. It's either the most convenient story ever told, or someone in Hollywood took very detailed notes. In 2008, something really did wash up on Montauk area beach. Photos went viral of this bizarre, bloated, hairless creature with a beak-like mouth. People immediately called it the Montauk Monster, because why not? It looked like a glitch in nature, like someone hit randomize on a character creator. Now, we've all played Soul Calibur, so it can get pretty wild, you know what I'm saying? Experts said it was likely just a decomposed raccoon or dog, something natural, but distorted by water and decay. But conspiracy people looked at that thing and went, yep, that's what happens when your secret underground science lab starts leaking. So the Montauk Project gets a fresh boost of attention. Now, it's not just stories from the 80s. There's physical weirdness washing up on the shore, which kind of adds to it, makes it a little spooky. Kind of builds this credibility, almost in a sense. Here's where the theory and pop culture officially cross paths. The creators of Stranger Things originally pitched their show under the working title Montauk. The story was going to be set near Montauk, with a government lab doing shady experiments on kids and a tear between realities. Sound familiar? We just talked about that? Montauk? Getting awful serious. Getting awful similar. But, as you know, it didn't go that way. Kind of. They later moved on the setting to Indiana and renamed it Stranger Things. But the bones of the idea stayed the same. Secret government facility, psychic child used as a weapon, unseen dimensions bleeding into our world. A small town trying to make sense of the unbelievable. To people who already believed in the Montauk Project, this wasn't just a fun show. it looked like disclosure with serial numbers filed off. For everyone else, it raises a different question. Did the show just borrow a creepy urban legend? Or did the legend exist to cover up something that actually happened? And now, it's safely repackaged as fiction. And it works. You think Stranger Things, you think MONTAUK Project, you think MONTAUK Project, you think Stranger Things, and then before you know it, lines blur and they're like, it's all fiction. It's a good way to do it. Mind control. On paper, a lot of this sounds ridiculous. Time tunnels, psychic chairs, thought monsters. Had a couple of those in my town growing up. But here's why the people latched onto it. The government really did run secret programs like MK Ultra, dosing people with drugs and trying to control their minds. We all know about this. There's a whole conspiracy about it with Charles Manson. Might get into that one day. There really were black budget projects during the Cold War that stayed classified for decades. Military bases do lie about what they're doing all the time for national security purposes. So when you tell people, no, this base was just a radar station, totally boring, please leave, and then surround it with fences, restricted areas, and weird local rumors, they're going to fill in the blanks. Especially when ex-military or alleged insiders come forward with elaborate stories. Stories that just so happen to line up just enough with real history to feel believable. There are also a lot of reasons to be skeptical. Now, this is the no fun part, because I don't like being skeptical. I'm a full believer in anything. You could tell me any story at all and I'd probably believe it because it's fun. There are no verified documents, no hard proof, and a lot of key witnesses only started talking decades later, usually through books or interviews that made them money. Their stories also shift over time, adding more details, more drama, and more supernatural elements as the legend grows. Kind of the old embellishing the same story over and over again until it becomes something it's not. A lot of what's described, like time portals and thought monsters, goes way beyond anything we've ever proven is possible, even at the cutting edge of physics. Now, it doesn't mean nothing shady happened in Montauk, but the full package story might be more myth than reality. It could be a mix of the Cold War experimentation, urban legends, and people connecting dots that were never meant to form a picture. But we are human pattern-seeking entities, and that's what our brains do. And honestly, it's kind of fun. But let's play with the idea for a second. If even 10% of this was real, if they really did manage to affect minds with radar or open minor rifts or weaponize psychic children, there's no way they just stopped and said, well, that was immoral. Pack it up, boys. Projects like that would be moved, renamed, privatized, buried under shell companies and new budgets. The scariest version of this story isn't that Montauk was a one-off. No. It's that Montauk was just one location in a network of experiments happening all over the place. And we only heard about the one with the creepiest radar tower. Maybe the reason we hear about it at all is because it's safe to let us believe it's just a conspiracy theory. So, what do you think? Is Montauk just a spooky coastal legend powered by Reddit and old paperbacks? Or was Camp Hero the real life upside down? A psychic playground where the government pushed reality until it broke? Would you spend the night out there, right next to the dead radar tower, knowing all these stories? Let me know in the comments if you'd go. Or if you're watching this from a safe distance, like a sane person. If you liked this video and the history of Montauk, messed up experiments and other strange things that inspired Stranger Things, then hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. Because if this is what they might have done at one base, imagine what's still happening where nobody's telling the stories yet. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.